I still remember the timestamp on the email. Thursday, 4:42 p.m. The subject line read, "Quick sync before EOD." That was the moment my stomach turned. Nothing good ever comes from a quick sync 2 days before the quarter closes, especially when you're due for the biggest payout of your career. I'd been at Delvix Systems for almost 5 years. Senior Enterprise Account Executive. Top performer 3 quarters straight. My Q4 numbers were already locked. $1.8 million in closed revenue, 118% attainment, and, per my contract, a $120,000 performance bonus due to hit payroll on Monday. I wasn't just expecting it, I'd earned it. Every call, every red-eye flight, every client dinner where I smiled through exhaustion, it all pointed to that wire. So when my boss, Ethan Vale, VP of Sales, all charm and hair gel, pinged me with, "Let's connect quick before you log off," I already knew something was off. He called from his office on the 14th floor, camera off, voice too casual. "Hey, buddy, just want a level set going into Q1, he started. That phrase, level set, always meant one thing. Damage control. I listened. Calm, polite. Ethan talked in circles about budget constraints, team realignment, and leadership expectations. Then, without a pause, he dropped it like it was a line item. "We're making some org changes effective immediately, and unfortunately, your position is being eliminated." Silence. My jaw tightened. I stared at the mute icon, made sure I wasn't speaking by mistake. "Eliminated?" I repeated. He exhaled. "Yeah, it's not performance-related, of course. You've been great. This is just restructuring. HR will follow up on separation details. Restructuring? 2 days before a payout, after 5 years of exceeding quota. It was so transparent it was almost funny. "Ethan," I said, keeping my tone even, "are you aware of my compensation terms for this quarter?" He paused just a little too long. "I know there's a pending bonus, yes. That'll be handled per company policy." "Company policy," I repeated, "or my contract." "Look, man," he sighed, "let's not make this complicated." That was when I knew. It wasn't incompetence. It was intent. HR's email landed within minutes. Subject, separation documentation. Delvix Systems. They'd already revoked my system access, my corporate card, and even my Slack credentials. There was a one-page agreement. Termination due to position elimination. No mention of the bonus. No mention of payout for achieved commissions. Just a line offering 2 weeks severance, in appreciation for past service. I didn't sign it. Instead, I opened my personal drive. Inside was a folder labeled Q4 Evidence. Because here's the truth. I'd felt this coming. 3 weeks earlier, Ethan had called me into a forecasting session. He'd leaned back in his chair, smiled like we were buddies, and asked me to move one client's signed deal from January 3rd, backdated to December 29th. "Just helps us clean up year-end optics," he'd said. I'd told him no. Nicely, but firmly, his smile faded. "You know we're all under pressure here, right?" "I do," I said, "and I also know what finance calls falsifying revenue." He hadn't liked that. Since then, I'd started documenting everything. Follow-up emails, Slack messages, even summaries of verbal requests. I didn't plan revenge, I planned insurance. Still, when I walked out of that meeting, my keycard already deactivated, HR escort waiting by the elevator, I didn't feel anger. Just a cold, clinical kind of quiet. The kind you get before a storm breaks. The building's lobby smelled like coffee and ozone from the rain outside. I watched my reflection in the glass doors for a long second. I looked calm, too calm. The security guard nodded at me like nothing had changed. Maybe nothing had, yet. Outside, the sky was gray, heavy, about to pour. My phone buzzed with a text from my teammate. "Heard the news. This is Bulls. Everyone's talking." Another text followed, from Ethan of all people. "Appreciate your contributions, man. Let's stay in touch." I stared at the screen until it blurred. Then I typed back one word. "Sure." I got into my car, hands steady on the wheel. There's a moment, right after you lose something you've built, when everything goes silent. The noise stops, the adrenaline drains, and you can finally hear your own thoughts. Mine were simple. You can't fight a corporation with emotion. You fight it with evidence. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started pulling files. Contract PDFs, commission statements, calendar invites from forecast meetings, and the internal message where Ethan had written, "Let's smooth out Q4 numbers. We'll make everyone's lives easier." I also had an internal compliance ticket ID from 2 weeks back, my quiet question to HR Legal about payout eligibility under early termination. It was still open. Perfect. At midnight, I poured a glass of water, sat back, and looked at the neat folder on my desktop. Receipts for termination. Inside, timestamps, contracts, and one small unshakable fact. My performance metrics were locked and verified by finance 5 days before they fired me. That made the termination not just shady, it made it actionable. The next morning, my phone rang again, HR cheerful as ever. "Hi, just following up to see if you've signed the separation form. We'd like to process everything quickly." I said, "I'll have my counsel review it." A pause. "Your counsel?" "Yes," I said. "That's standard for contract disputes, right?" She went quiet. "Mr. Hale," she finally said, "there's no dispute. This is just a restructuring. Then you won't mind waiting for a lawyer's review." I ended the call. I didn't have a lawyer. Yet. But I had something better. Documentation, time, and a deep understanding of how internal politics collapse when sunlight hits them. By Friday morning, the office gossip mill was boiling. 2 of my clients had already emailed asking why my company account bounced. One of them was Northstar Capital, our biggest enterprise customer, $12 million annual renewal pending. I didn't reply yet, not until I was ready. At 9:13 a.m., I started drafting an email, not to HR, not to Ethan, to myself. Subject, timeline, termination versus bonus eligibility. In the body, I began writing everything in chronological order, attaching documents as I went. It wasn't anger fueling me anymore. It was precision, because when someone tries to bury you to save their own bonus, you don't dig deeper, you dig smarter. And by the time Monday came, the day my bonus should have hit, I had something far more valuable than money. I had proof. The Monday my bonus was supposed to hit payroll, my phone stayed silent. No deposit, no call. Just a bland HR email at 8:02 a.m. "Final paycheck processed. Please confirm receipt." I did confirm, right after taking a screenshot of the amount. No bonus. Not even the commission adjustment, just base salary through Friday. That was the moment irritation turned into focus, because now it wasn't just unethical, it was provable theft. I opened my laptop, clicked on the folder, labeled Receipts, Q4, and began to build a story only facts could tell. It started 4 weeks before termination. Ethan had called it a forecast scrub. The entire sales floor knew that was code for find revenue that doesn't exist yet. He sat across from me, his laptop reflected in his glasses, and said, "If we roll Northstar's renewal into Q4, it'll stabilize optics for the board. Just backdate the doc once they sign in January." I remember every word. I'd even summarized it in an email to him later that night, purely for clarification. "Hey, Ethan, just to confirm, you're asking me to record Northstar's renewal in Q4, even if the contract isn't executed until Q1? I just want to make sure finance signs off before I touch it." He never replied, but he read it. I had the read receipt. 2 days later, he stopped inviting me to leadership syncs. By week 2, subtle pressure turned into open irritation. He'd started CCing HR on random performance check-ins. Need to see more alignment, team spirit, adaptability. Corporate poetry for "We're building a paper trail." That's when I opened the compliance portal. It wasn't a complaint, just a policy clarification request. I wrote, "If a commissionable deal has been closed, booked, and approved by finance, is a subsequent termination allowed to nullify payout? The timestamp, December 15th, 3:48 p.m., exactly 10 days before the quick sync. When the portal auto-generated a case number, I knew it was logged on the server. Even if they deleted it later, the audit trail would stay. I didn't know it yet, but that one digital breadcrumb would end up on the board's desk. After the firing, I spent that Monday combing through my archived emails. The deeper I dug, the clearer the motive became. Ethan had been on the hook for hitting regional revenue targets. My $1.8 million deal would have pushed his numbers over target, but the bonus pool was capped. If my payout triggered, his personal Q4 pool would shrink. In short, every dollar I earned cost him. And then there was North Star. They weren't just a client. They were the client, the kind that makes or breaks a fiscal year. I'd managed that account for 3 years, navigated 6 contract renewals, 3 platform upgrades, and a near merger that almost killed the partnership. The MSA, Master Service Agreement, with North Star had a clause called Key Personnel Provision. It stated, the client reserves the right to terminate or suspend the agreement if the designated account lead, John Hale, is removed from the relationship without mutual consent prior to renewal. That clause was my silent weapon. Tuesday morning, I printed everything. Literally everything. Contracts, emails, calendar invites, call transcripts, compliance ticket confirmations, even the HR one-liner about appreciation for past service. My dining table looked like a crime board. Then I called a friend, Maya, corporate lawyer, quiet, methodical, and the kind of person who can make HR directors lose sleep. I told her everything. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she said, "Don't threaten them. Don't demand anything. Just document. Then let the right people find it." Meaning, let the board see what the VP did to protect his own payout. You don't accuse, just show receipts. Their own compliance rules will do the rest. That night, I slept for the first time in 3 days. Wednesday morning, HR called again. Same cheerful tone, same fake warmth. "Hi, John, we noticed your company laptop hasn't been returned yet." I smiled. "Correct. My counsel is reviewing a few items on it before I ship it back." A pause, then cautious. "You're not authorized to access company data. Post-termination." "Oh, I'm not accessing anything," I said. "Just confirming that my personal files, client notes, call logs are intact. Wouldn't want anything deleted accidentally, right?" Her silence lasted 3 seconds too long. "Of course," she said finally, and hung up. By Thursday, the tension was visible even from outside. My LinkedIn views spiked overnight, from internal IPs at Delvix. Someone from legal had viewed my profile 3 times in 24 hours. That's when I knew they were nervous. Friday afternoon, I opened a blank document and titled it Timeline, Termination versus Compensation. I laid it out like a case file. Dates, actions, evidence. Deck 2, Q4 quota achieved. Deck 4, finance confirms attainment, screenshot. Deck 15, compliance inquiry logged. Deck 22, VP request to backdate revenue. Email. Deck 29, termination effective. Jan 1, payout date missed. At the bottom, I added one final line. Bonus forfeiture occurred post-performance completion and prior to payout, constituting breach of contract, bad faith termination, and violation of company policy 4.3, earned compensation. I wasn't exaggerating. The clause existed. I'd memorized it. When the document hit 12 pages, I exported it as PDF, named it Delvix Ethics Timeline Final.pdf, and uploaded a copy to 2 places. 1, my encrypted drive. 2, the corporate ethics hotline portal. In the additional recipients field, I selected Audit Committee Chair, Board of Directors. No accusations, no anger, just facts. I hit submit at 11:57 p.m. Saturday morning, while the rest of the world was sleeping off their hangovers, I sat at my kitchen table and watched the rain crawl down the window. Somewhere inside Delvix Systems, An automated compliance bot was flagging an ethics escalation tagged to the VP of sales. The notification would route through legal, then audit, then, if the system worked, the board. I didn't need to call anyone. I didn't need to scream. All I needed was patience. Because when you've got proof, silence is strategy. By Monday morning, I got an automated reply. Your submission has been received and escalated to Audit Committee Review. Please retain your case ID for reference. Case ID, AC2746HQ. A minute later, another email pinged from my old company domain, systemdelvix.com. Subject, access alert. Your account was accessed by an administrator. Someone had just tried to open my archived mailbox. Good, let them look. Because what they'd find inside wasn't noise or gossip. It was documentation, dates, numbers, requests, all perfectly lined up, the kind of trail you can't delete without leaving fingerprints. At noon, I closed my laptop, poured myself another coffee, and looked out the window. I didn't feel fear or anger anymore, just control. Ethan thought he'd won by firing me. He had no idea he'd just promoted me to narrator. By the time my case ID hit the Delvix compliance server, I already knew what would happen next. There's a rhythm to corporate panic. First the silence, then the whispers, then the cleanup. Monday evening, 7:16 p.m., my phone lit up. Unknown number, I let it ring out. 30 seconds later, a voicemail. Mr. Hale, this is Emily Rogers from Corporate Legal at Delvix. Could you please return my call regarding an internal matter? They'd seen it. The report had landed. I didn't call back. Instead, I wrote a short email to her address. Hi, Emily. Happy to discuss. Once my counsel reviews the documentation I submitted to audit, please direct any further communication to the ethics case portal to maintain proper record. Translation: you're not getting me on the phone without transcripts. 5 minutes later, I got a read receipt. She didn't reply. Tuesday morning, 6:32 a.m., I got a ping on LinkedIn. A connection request from David Liu, Chief Financial Officer at Delvix. The same CFO who'd signed my commission sheet in December. I accepted. No message. At 10:04, he finally sent one. Hey, John, can we talk off the record? I stared at the screen for a long second. That phrase, off the record, might as well have been an admission. Instead of replying, I posted a neutral public update, appreciating the messages from clients and colleagues, excited for what's next. Within an hour, North Star Capital's managing partner, Mark Devereux, liked the post. That was no coincidence. North Star's renewal, $12 million in annual recurring revenue, was due to close in 3 weeks. They hadn't heard from me since my account access vanished, and under that key personnel clause, firing me without consent gave them an out. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability and leverage, so I drafted a single email, short, neutral, surgical. Subject: change in account status, North Star, Delvix. Hi, Mark. I wanted to let you know I'm no longer with Delvix Systems as of last week. I understand the renewal is scheduled for Q1. As per Section 7.4 of the MSA, key personnel, please confirm whether Delvix has provided an updated point of contact for transition. Best, John Hale. I hit send and closed the laptop. 32 minutes later, a reply. John, this is the first we're hearing of your departure. That clause is active. I'll be escalating this internally and to your board liaison. Thanks for the heads up. That last line, to your board liaison, was the quiet explosion. Wednesday morning, the first tremor hit. My old teammates started messaging me from their personal accounts. What did you do, man? Everyone's losing it upstairs. Ethan's office doors closed. Legal and HR are in there. They said something about board involvement. What's going on? I didn't answer. Let them wonder. Because now it wasn't just my complaint. It was a board-level breach of contract with a top-tier client. And that's not a problem you can sweep under a carpet. Not when the carpet's made of compliance audits and shareholder reports. By Thursday, I knew it had reached the top. At 8:03 a.m., An email hit my inbox. From boardauditofficedelvix.com. Subject: Case Adger AC 2746 HQ. Request for interview Mr. Hale. The audit committee has reviewed your submission and would like to schedule a follow-up discussion to clarify the details. Please confirm your availability for a 9 a.m. call tomorrow. Regards, Corporate Audit Support Office. It was real. They were moving. I replied immediately. Available. Please record the session for compliance transparency, because if they were going to listen, they might as well document it. Friday, 8:59 a.m. I sat in front of my laptop, coffee in hand, wearing a collared shirt for no reason except symmetry. The call connected. 5 faces appeared: audit chair, 2 board members, corporate counsel, and someone from HR legal who looked like she hadn't slept in days. The chair spoke first. Mr. Hale, we appreciate your cooperation. We've reviewed the materials you submitted. His tone was crisp, neutral, the kind you use when you already know the answer but want to hear the witness say it aloud. I nodded. Of course, he continued. For the record, you allege that your direct supervisor requested you to misrepresent revenue and subsequently terminated your employment following your refusal, resulting in the forfeiture of an earned bonus, correct? Yes, I said evenly. Everything I submitted is time-stamped and verified through internal systems. The counsel adjusted her glasses. You also referenced a client contract containing a key person clause? Yes. North Star Capital. Section 7.4. They've already notified your board liaison. Her pen froze mid-note. The audit chair leaned forward slightly. Mr. Hale, would you be willing to provide direct contact verification from the client regarding this communication? I already did, I said. Check your audit inbox. The client copied it there an hour ago. A pause. Then the faint sound of typing from someone off camera. The counsel's expression shifted just slightly. The kind of micro-reaction people have when an email lands at exactly the wrong time. The chair nodded slowly. Understood. Thank you, Mr. Hale. We may reach out again once we complete internal review. He ended the call. By that afternoon, things were unraveling inside Delvix. A contact in finance texted me privately. Ethan's badge deactivated. HR head called into legal. Something's going down. Another message from a friend in operations. Dude, North Star froze renewal. Board called an emergency meeting. I stared at the screen. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not out of spite, out of symmetry. Ethan had taken my bonus to protect his metrics. Now the account that gave him those metrics was choking the company pipeline. At 5:42 p.m., my phone rang again. Same unknown number as before. I picked up this time. Mr. Hale? A different voice, older, smoother. This is Richard Lang, General Counsel for Delvix Systems. I wanted to personally thank you for your cooperation with the Audit Committee. I said nothing. He cleared his throat. We recognize there may have been miscommunications in your separation process. The board would like to resolve this matter amicably. How so? I asked. Let's just say we'd prefer to discuss a fair outcome before attorneys get involved. That word, attorneys, hung in the air like perfume. I'm listening, I said. He exhaled, slow and careful. We'll be in touch Monday with a proposal. I ended the call without another word. That weekend, I didn't check email. I didn't draft statements. I didn't gloat. I just walked through the park near my apartment, phone in pocket, listening to the sound of early spring rain. They'd made their choice when they fired me. Now they were about to pay for it. And for once, I didn't have to lift a finger. The system they'd built, the one they thought protected them, was doing the work for me. Because when you lie to save your bonus, you might fool your boss. But you never fool the board. Monday came quiet. No alarms, no rush. Just that peculiar calm that only arrives when the storm you started finally begins to clean itself up. At 8:07 a.m., my inbox blinked with a new message. Subject: Proposed resolution. Case AC 2746 HQ from Richard Lane, General Counsel, Delvix Systems. Mr. Hale, following the Audit Committee's findings, Delvix Systems is prepared to offer a formal settlement to resolve all pending disputes related to your termination. This proposal includes full Q4 bonus compensation, 6 months of base salary, and a neutral reference letter acknowledging your contributions during employment. We would appreciate a response by Wednesday to finalize terms. Sincerely, Richard Lane. It wasn't an apology, but it was an admission, the kind that costs money. I read it twice, then forwarded it to Maya, my lawyer friend. She called me 10 minutes later, coffee in hand and disbelief in her tone. "John, they're folding. This is faster than I expected. Guess the audit report didn't go their way." "You think?" "The board probably found those backdating requests. If they're offering 6 months' salary, someone's trying to plug a hole before shareholders see the report." "Do I take it?" I asked. Maya laughed. "Oh, we'll take it, after we add to it." That afternoon, she sent me a draft reply. Calm, professional, surgical. "Richard, thank you for the proposal. We appreciate Delvix's willingness to address this promptly. To ensure closure and compliance with all contractual and ethical obligations, we request the following adjustments. Full Q4 bonus payout, $120,000, plus 6 months' salary as proposed. Amendment to reference letter explicitly confirming exceeded performance expectations for Q4, FY 2024. NDA carve-out, allowing disclosure to regulatory agencies and legal advisors as required by law. Payment remitted via wire transfer within 7 business days of execution. Upon completion, Mr. Hale will consider the matter fully resolved. We hit send. Delvix responded in less than 24 hours. They agreed. All of it. No edits. That was how scared they were. By Wednesday morning, a courier dropped off a thick envelope. Settlement agreement. Confidential. Inside, the official offer signed by the CFO himself. Page 3 caught my eye. It read, Mr. Hale's performance for Q4 exceeded expectations and contributed materially to the company's strategic objectives. It wasn't just a line. It was vindication. At the bottom, my payment details sat neatly in black ink. Bonus, $20,000. Settlement, $68,500. Total wire, $185,000. I signed. Not out of joy, out of closure. The wire hit Friday morning, $185,000. No fanfare, no message, no apology. Just numbers on a screen, quiet, clean, irreversible. I stared at it for a long time, coffee cooling beside me. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I didn't need to look. I knew. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. "John," Ethan's voice came through, low, cautious, stripped of its old confidence. "Look, man, I heard about the settlement. I just wanted to say—" I cut him off. "Stop." A pause. "You don't want to hear me out?" "No," I said. "You wanted to protect your bonus. You got your wish, just not the one you planned." He exhaled, a sound somewhere between a sigh and a laugh. "You got lucky." "Luck doesn't come with timestamps and case IDs," I said quietly. He didn't answer. Then finally, "They're letting me go. Effective next week." I nodded to myself. "That's between you and the board, Ethan. I'm done." "Can we at least—" I ended the call, blocked the number. 2 weeks later, a headline hit TechBiz Insider. North Star Capital suspends renewal, with Delvix Systems amid internal audit fallout. I didn't leak it. North Star did. They'd transferred their entire $12 million contract to my new employer, Rydell Analytics, who had quietly offered me a senior role the day after my settlement cleared. The message from their managing partner was simple. "You built that trust, John. We follow integrity, not logos." The first morning at Rydell, I got to my desk early. No fanfare, no speeches. Just a clean desk, a fresh notebook, and a new badge with my name spelled right. Before diving into emails, I opened one last folder on my personal laptop. Receipts, Q4 termination. I hovered over it for a moment, then deleted it. Gone. because I didn't need proof anymore. The world already had it. Later that week, Maya called again. You realize you pulled off the corporate equivalent of a heist, right? Not a heist, I said. Just a return. You know what I like most about it? She said. You never raised your voice. You just showed them their reflection. That made me laugh. Yeah, I said. Turns out the best revenge is documentation. The weekend came. I left my phone on the counter, laced up my running shoes, and stepped outside. The air smelled like rain and asphalt, that soft metallic scent that comes after everything breaks and cleans itself up. No tension, no noise, no company politics humming in the background. As I started running down the quiet street, the morning light hit the puddles just right, tiny reflections of a world that finally made sense again. Behind me, Delvix would deal with the fallout. Audits, PR damage, shareholders asking hard questions. Ahead of me there was nothing but distance. Clean, earned, and mine. I didn't tell anyone this, but when the wire cleared that morning, I made a single transfer. $5,000 to the local community legal aid fund. No one would ever know, but I did. Because if there's one thing that whole mess taught me, it's this. You can't always stop people from being crooked, but you can make sure the next time they try, there's a record. I slowed at the end of the block, breathing deep, lungs burning in a good way. Somewhere far behind, an empire of glass and HR memos was cracking under its own weight, and I didn't need to watch it fall. Some stories don't need applause, they just need balance.